Beyond further bars there were cages. A lower fence ran around outside, nearly as tall as a furnace. The bars of the low fence were widely spaced. I slid between them cautiously. Why did the furnace keep creatures in cages? What was this place for? I took a step toward the closest den and spotted the outline of the great beast lying on its side. Its skin was thick as tree's bark, and its face was wide and heavy, with a pointed horn. It didn't even twitch as I passed, oblivious to my presence. My stomach was churning, but a sense inside me urged caution. There was something very wrong with these strange beast dens, something unnatural. Again I wondered why the Furlets built this place of traps. Did they plan to kill these creatures and feast on their flesh? Why did they hoard so many? I moved along the narrow bars to another den. I smelled dry grass and mud inside the cage. I couldn't work out what lived in there. There was a wooden structure where the creature must have slept. I sensed it was harmless, an eater of grasses, not flesh and bone. By the third den I paused to draw in gulps of air. My head was buzzing from all the odors. I closed my eyes, allowing the smells to fall into place. The creatures nearest to me had thick hides or pelts of fur. Deeper along the cages I was sure I smelled feathers. That's where I needed to go. To the birds. To the one that squawked, announcing itself, inviting my approach. I was heading the wrong way. As I opened my eyes and began to turn, I was struck by a pungent, musky odor. It was coming from the den in front of me. I couldn't see any movement. I crept closer. The cage was empty now, but I could tell that something recently lived there. Instinct hissed in my ears like an icy wind, yet curiosity compelled me. I peered through the bars. There was a patch of grassy earth, some shrubs, and a small pond. I strained to see further, nearer to the bars. A tree had hacked to a stump. Parallel hooves ran along the bark. Giant claw marks. A shiver ran down my back. The grooves were many times deeper than anything a fox could do. A creature of great power had been in this den. I caught a whiff of something tasty. My eyes seized on a bone not far from the bars. There was a hunk of meat hanging off it, with globs of white gristle. My belly rumbled excitedly. I stretched a forepaw through the bars. There was I couldn't quite reach the bone. Yipping in frustration, I tried again. My claws prodded the bone, which shifted a whisker closer. I remembered how calmly Ma had eased some berries from a high branch, using one forepaw to draw the branch down and the other to hold it still. If I was patient, I could retrieve the bone. This close I could almost taste it. I imagined the fatty meat in my mouth, the juices running down my throat. Another careful bat of the paw, and it was almost close enough to snatch. The hunk of meat was pink and it smelled delicious. The bone was long and white as teeth. There were dents across the surface. Something had gnashed the bone with its mighty jaws. I squeezed my paw further between the bars. Halfway up my foreleg, I could feel the pinch, but my belly's complaints were louder. I'm hungry, it told me. It's late. I've not eaten. Gritting my teeth, I shoved my leg deeper and nudged the bone. I lowered my snout, opening my mouth to scoop it up. This low to the ground, the scent of the creature was powerful. Its musk stung at the base of my jaw. My body tensed. I didn't feel right about this. The scent was too strong, too fresh. A roar exploded from the dark side of the den. A monstrous thing bounded toward me. I jerked at my paw and yelped in pain. My foreleg was trapped. I crumpled with terror as the monster threw himself against the bars, his massive jaws expanding with a furious howl. Other creatures stirred in nearby dens. The squawking started up again, and I cursed the bird that lured me to this horrifying place. I yanked and twisted, but I couldn't put myself free. The beast dropped on all fours. His eyes were yellow like the moon. edged in the darkest black. His frame was that of a giant dog, but with his broad shoulders and wild eyes he looked much more savage. Pointed ears framed his enormous head. His shaggy white fur was flecked with gray, falling about him like a knotted mane. "Foxcraft!" he growled, in a voice as deep as dark as the earth. "Convening crafty wretch!" I was astonished to understand his words. He must have been a cub of Canista, a creature like me, though I could hardly imagine how he might be related. What was this monster, this giant dog with fire in his eyes? He dropped his shaggy head. His black lips curled back, wet with spit. "You have the nerve to steal my food!" he snarled. Wrinkles coursed his muzzle. Beneath his black lips and gums were pink, and his fangs were large as a fox's paw. I opened my mouth, and my tongue was dry, and the sound I made was barely a whimper. I was mesmerized by fear and Fresn's rage in his yellow eyes. He glowered, and I looked away, yearning for the comfort of my old life. Fa and Ma never warned me about monsters like this. If only they were here to help, to tell me what to do. The creature pressed his muzzle near mine. "Speak!" Although I didn't look up, I could still feel his eyes boring into me. I cowered, lost for words. My silence seemed to enrage him. "You have disrespected me, Foxcraft, eater of broken meat. You are a thief without honor, and now you will pay." My eyes darted up to see the soft pink folds of his tongue. It was hard to imagine that a thing so fragile could hide in such a ferocious creature. I tugged at my leg, but I couldn't free myself. I wasn't even sure why he was angry. Was it because of the bone? "I eat rats!" I cried as he rolled back on his haunches, his face contoured with disgust. "Rats!" he rasped with a twitch of his ears. "A thing that eats rats has no right to exist." I had just enough time to see the fangs yawn wide. Beyond the pink of his tongue there was darkness.